We do not, Professor Negi does not require a formal introduction. We know him as the mountain man, and we know him as a very dedicated worker for the well-being of students and teachers alike. So we are honored to welcome you, sir, with the ceremonial shawl. Please give a huge round of applause to Professor V.S. Negi. Shri Sabyasachi Datta will be chairing the session. We are honored to have him with us. He is the Executive Director and founder of Asian Confluence Shillong in India. We have already heard his thoughts about the Northeast India. I request Professor V.S. Negi to welcome the first speaker, Professor Sanjay Kumar Pandey, with the ceremonial shawl. सर आप स्टेज पर आ जाएं, संजय सर सामने. Yes, sir. Professor Sanjay Kumar Pandey is the first.
Introduction can be very brief.
Of course.
Just my institutional affiliation will do.
Certainly, sir. Professor Sanjay Kumar Pandey is a professor at the Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies, School of International Studies, JNU. He has served as the chairperson of the center and the director of the Russia and Central Asian Studies Area Studies program. We are honored to have you with us, sir. Please take your seat. I invite Professor Kavita Yadav from the Department of Commerce, Shahid Bhagat Singh College, to welcome Dr. Otojit Khetrimayam. Professor Kavita Yadav, please join us on the stage. Dr. Otojit Khetrimayam is a labor sociologist and development professional with over 20 years of experience in evidence-based policy research and training. He is an ILO certified evidence-based policy specialist and holds a PhD in sociology from Jawaharlal University, New Delhi. He currently serves as fellow faculty and coordinator of the Center for Northeast India at the V.V. Giri National Labor Institute under the Ministry of Labor and Employment, Government of India. We are truly honored to have you with us, sir. I invite Ms. Charu Mittal from senior faculty from the Department of History to welcome Dr. Dharitri Narzare. Dr. Dharitri Narzare is Associate Professor, School of Liberal Studies and Director, Center for Research Methods, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, New Delhi. Her areas of expertise are Japanese, East Asian society and culture, trans-regionalism, Northeast of India, Center Periphery Relations, Education and Society, Cultural History and Multiculturalism, Material Culture and Community Knowledge System, Education and Indigenous Belief System. She holds a PhD in Japanese Studies. We are truly grateful for you, to you, ma'am, for joining us here today. I now hand over the mic to Shri Sabyasachi Datta to conduct the session.
So welcome back. It was really nice to, this session, I understand we are running a bit late. So I have been told by Professor Jain that we should end by 2:30, sir. Am I correct? So how much time do we have? 1 o'clock, 1.5 hours. That gives us ample time, I think, if we have 15 minutes of an initial presentation from each one of our esteemed scholars. And then I think such a conversation would not be complete without enough of question and answers and interactions with the scholars assembled here. So on that note, again, I welcome the panelists. I think the theme of this session is extremely important. The socio-cultural and political dimensions to understanding the Northeast. That is sort of the underlying chemistry which drives the dynamics and the physics of the region. And when we talk of policies, we talk about the developmental paradigms, which Professor Lama today gave us a lot of food for thought. Uh, you know, understanding, and he talked about the head and the body, right? And if we look at the Northeast as the head, then understanding the psyche, the understanding the wiring uh, of the thought process is extremely important. And I think nothing better to give us an insight into that than the social and political dimensions. So we have amongst us, uh, uh, we will be joined by Professor Pandey, who will be talking about asymmetric federalism, um, an extremely interesting area in which to dive into to understand the region and the history, the contemporary, and moving forward. And then we have Dr. Ottojit Chitriam. You'll be talking about migrations, employment, and extremely, again, a very important area of understanding the region. And might I say, give us a lot of opportunities to look at the way forward. And thirdly, but very importantly, again, Dr. Narzari will be talking about a lot of the historical and the spiritual dimensions. And I think that's, again, a very, very important area. So as chair, I would not like to take much time, because to stand between these extreme presentations, I'll make my comments in between. So without further ado, I would like to now invite Professor Sanjay Pandey, the professor at JNU, to please make your presentation. May I request you to have 15 minutes to start with, and then
Fine.
yes, and then
Just
we can
remind me 2 minutes.
I will do that. I will.
Thank you very much. First of all, Mr. Sabyasachi, and then Jan Sahab, who has been my senior, and Bade Bhai. I'm also honored that my senior colleague and a person who we respect for his scholarship, his understanding of South Asia and Northeast India, that is Professor Lama, he's here. It's wonderful to be in this college also because the type of development, infrastructure improvement that we have seen is quite impressive. So thank you, Jan Saab, for inviting me. Now, some of you might be wondering why I should be here. In the sense, my surname, my name gives away my ethnicity, my identity. I am from Eastern UP, from Gorakhpur, and I studied mostly in UP and then in Delhi. But I served in Northeast, in Arunachal for 6 years. So that was my initial foray into Northeast. Since then, of course, I teach foreign policy of Russia and foreign policy of Central Asian states, which is very different from the concern that we have today. But in the last 30 years, since I first visited Northeast as a fresh PhD from JNU, because I could not get a college job here in Delhi. So Arunachal Public Service Commission, they advertised. And many students from JNU, from SIS and CPS, we all decided, chalo ghoom ke aate hain Arunachal. So we all went to Itanagar for the interview. We had nice time, and most of that batch are now in Delhi. One is in BHU, Amarnath Mohanty from CPS. He's heading the political science department in BHU. In Northeast, I met another classmate and friend of Professor Lama and Professor Jan. That was Arun Kumar Singh. He was in the political science department of Arunachal University at that time. Later on, he shifted to Nagaland, where he served for more than 2 decades. And with that, my association with Nagaland started, but that was not the only reason. Some of my initial students who did their PhD with me were from Nagaland, and this was early 2000s. If you remember, those of you who know Northeast, if you remember, the Naga peace process picked up momentum during that time. Muiwa and Swu visited India, and first in Amsterdam, where? And then in India, they held talks with Padmanabhaiya, and the Naga peace process started. Two of my students, one was a Sumi, the other was an Ao. And we used to have very interesting discussions. And because of that, I did a small project on asymmetric federalism and the Naga national movement. I also got associated with Nagaland University. I'm on their board of studies, postgraduate board of studies. So I keep going. 10 times I must have visited, but never lived there for very long. So I have my own whatever slight understanding or knowledge of Nagaland. Of course, my MA was in political science from Allahabad. So what I was interested in was how Indian federalism worked in Northeast. In the morning, Professor Lama and also Mr. Sabyasachi and Jan Saab, all of them mentioned asymmetric federalism and special status, Article 371. So I'll be briefly talking about that. Now, federalism in the last 200 years or so has provided a model, a mechanism through which groups and communities who might be very distinct, sometimes territorially based, national communities, at other times not so, they come together, join together while maintaining their distinctive identities and self-rule. They come together in a national project, whatever you call it. That was first of all in US, but later on many other countries, including Canada, Australia, India, much later even Spain and Belgium. Switzerland, of course, was among the early federations and typical example of coming together federalism. But not all federations are similar. This was also pointed out by some scholars here. There are many federations in which there are groups and communities which are territorially based and which consider a certain part of the larger political entity as their national homeland. And there is often demand for autonomy or self-rule or sometimes independence or separation from the larger body politics by these groups and communities. And in order to satisfy their aspiration for self-rule or autonomy, this asymmetric principle was adopted. It was not there, is still not there in US, the first federation in modern times, but later on Canada and many others adopted. Now, Alfred Stephen, who is one of the foremost writers on asymmetric federalism or federalism, he says that he considers, he divides federations into multinational federations and others. And US, for example, according to him, is not a multinational federation because there are no territorially based national communities who demand autonomy or independence. So for him, a multinational federation is one where there are territorially based identities, and these identities aspire for autonomy or independence. So, for example, Switzerland is one exception, I would say, where there are territorially based communities. There are French speakers and German speakers and others, but Stephen would still not consider it as multinational because these various communities, national communities, do not demand separation or independence. So only those countries who have territorially based communities and there are demands for self-rule, self-government, separation, or independence or autonomy can qualify as multinational federations. By that standard, Canada, India, even Russia, there are question marks about its claim to be a federation, although the official name of the country is Russian Federation. And there are features which for an Indian, and especially those who study Naga case, it would be interesting to know about Russia. If we have time, I'll come to that. Now, special status is one strategy adopted by multinational federal polities to satisfy the demand of national minorities for political and cultural autonomy. It arises when a constituent unit contains a population which is in majority in that unit, but otherwise in a minority in the larger polity, in the larger federation. The arrangement is also referred to as asymmetric federalism. It is important to remember that the demand for special status by national minorities is not just a demand for additional power, but also for national recognition, a symbolic declaration of their distinct identity and uniqueness. If you remember the 1997 ceasefire agreement between Government of India and the Naga groups, NSCN-IM, for example, the first one, the most important at that time. In that, the joint communique issued by, at that time, and Padmana Bhaiya was the interlocutor and also the Home Secretary at that time, the communique said that the Government of India recognizes the uniqueness of Nagas and their distinct identity and their situation, unique situation. And the Nagas, especially Muiba, always emphasizes that any agreement or any settlement will have to be based on this recognition by the larger body politic, that is India, about the uniqueness of the Naga situation. He defines the uniqueness in many ways. He talks about religion, so Nagaland for Christ, for example. He also says, emphasizes that Naga Hills or Naga Limb or Nagaland, whatever you call it, were never part of India. This is his contention. So don't attribute it to me. I'm not saying. He says that in the past, we were not under the Ahom rulers. In their understanding of history, the Nagas had very limited contact with either the Ahom Empire or even the Manipuri kings. They would come down from the hills only because in Golaghat and other areas there were salt springs. So for salt and for some other iron implements, they would come down. And of course, head hunting was their favorite pastime. It was part of their identity, their culture. And they would take, the British, when they, for the first time after the Treaty of Yandabo in early 19th century, 1826, after that, when Assam came under the British rule and subsequently they started tea plantations, one of the things that they were very disturbed with was their recurrent Naga raids, or sometimes even the Lushais, the Mizos would come down, and they would disturb the political economy of the plains, and the tea plantations were spreading across Upper Assam and rest of Assam. And the British, their first claim to being rulers in India was the fact that they believed that they brought order in India, a unified rule, a polity, a legal system, a taxation system, so protection of life and liberty. And here there were Nagas coming down from hills every now and then, taking heads. So for the British, it was unacceptable. They also considered it as barbaric. And in the early British writings, you will find mention of how they need to civilize these barbarians, British writers. And so from 1850, 51, 52 onwards, they conducted 10 major raids into the Naga hills. They would come up, they would destroy villages, burn villages. The Nagas were killed in big numbers, they would flee. But once the British returned, because these were very difficult, the terrain is very difficult, the Nagas would resume their old way of life. So finally, sometimes in the later half of 19th century, the British decided that perhaps they need to establish some form of political rule. So they appointed one assistant commissioner in Kohima, one deputy commissioner of police or something in the Ao area. So Mokokchung. So this is how. And they also realized that unless modern education comes, the Nagas cannot be pacified. They will not change their way of life. So the missionaries were given the charge, the American Baptists, to spread education. And the American Baptists played a very critical role, not just in quote-unquote educating and civilizing the Nagas, but also in creating a sense of nationhood among the Nagas. Initially, of course, they wanted to spread Christianity. For that, they needed to know the languages. There are 16 or more odd languages, but these languages are unintelligible to each other. I mean, an Ao or a Lotha or a Nangami or Rengma, they cannot understand each other. But even within those languages, Sema or Ao language, there was no standard form. There were various dialects. So the British standardized the languages in order to spread Christianity. And so even these identities, Sema, Lotha, Ao, Angami, in many ways, modern education and westernization helped in coalescing and creating identity among these various tribes. But then, of course, Western education and subsequently in the early 20th century, it is claimed, the Naga nationalists claim, and this is the general understanding, that a Naga club was created in 1918. Large number of Nagas were taken to Europe during the First World War in various capacities. They were exposed to the ideas of liberty, equality, fraternity, nationalism. When they came back, they created this Naga club. This was also the time when non-cooperation movement was going on, and the Simon Commission and other statutory commissions were coming. Oh, Baba. The story has just started. I'm sorry, we are accustomed to, at least I'm accustomed to talking for 2 hours at a stretch, and normally without notes. So this is just the beginning of the story. We'll see how I conclude in 2 minutes. But there was a consciousness coming among the Nagas during this time when the Indians independence struggle, anti-colonial struggle was going on, that the Nagas, what will happen to the Nagas? And this is a constant refrain in most of the Naga writings and most of the, communication that they had. They gave a representation to the Simon Commission also. Subsequently also, they gave many representations. There were many deputy commissioners of Naga Hills, John Hutton during the second and third decade, Charles Posey during 1930s, who were very sympathetic to the Nagas. And the Nagas, the constant refrain is that we are very different in terms of ethnicity, language, our religion. And therefore, after the British leave, and these were excluded areas or partially governed areas, 1935 Act, Prof. Lama mentioned that. And the Nagas always said that when the British leave, they should leave us to determine our own political destiny. They gave representation. The Bordoloi Committee was there. The Nagas claim that the NNC was, Naga National Council was formed in 1945. And then in 1947, they claim that one day before India's independence, on 14th of August 1947, they declared their independence. They held a referendum in 1950 where they claimed that 99% of the people, Nagas, approved of independence. Subsequently, the Naga federal government was formed in 1954. The Naga constitution, Yazabo, was adopted in 1956. But of course, widespread military operations by the government of India finally forced a section of the Nagas, what was it called? Naga Convention, National Convention. And they came to an agreement with the government of India in 1960. Nagaland became a constituent unit of India in 1962. And some of the provisions of 371A and the 6th schedule, these are very revealing. It says that no act of Indian Parliament, if it affects Naga customary law or land relations or land and its resources, will apply to Nagaland unless it is passed by the Nagaland Assembly. So that is something which gives special status. Of course, the issue could not be settled. Many among the Nagas were not convinced. The NNC continued its struggle. The Shillong Agreement was 1975, but even that would not settle. The NSCN was born in 1980, sir. 1989, it was divided into IM and Khaplang. They parted ways. So the basic, if you see from within Nagaland, the basic problem is that the Nagas are very diverse. There are 16 odd tribes and communities, perhaps even more. And there is a lot of different. The Eastern Nagas, Mon, Tuensang, those areas are very different. They have created their own grouping and are demanding separation or autonomy within or outside Nagaland. So the problem is very complex. The Naga militancy continued. 1997, the ceasefire agreement was signed. 2015, the framework agreement was signed. In fact, on 3rd August this year, only a few days, 10 days from now, it will be 10 years after the framework agreement. The terms of that agreement were not made public. The Nagas have their own take on it. They believe that they were promised a separate constitution and separate flag. Now, after 370, after the abrogation of 370 and special status of Jammu and Kashmir, it is very difficult for Government of India to concede those demands. Of course, there are basic differences between 370 and 371. 370 at the very beginning mentioned it as a temporary provision. 371 is not a temporary provision. At the beginning, it mentions these are special provisions. So the special status for Nagaland or Mizoram or others are very much ingrained into the Constitution of India. The Nagas are, I mean, when Muiva is asked, it's all right. When Muiva is asked about, when he is specifically asked about sovereignty or Nagalim, that is Greater Nagaland, he says those are non-negotiable. But in practice, they are willing to come as far, but only provided the Government of India. The problem with Muiva is he believes, and many other Naga nationalists believe, that if they agree on anything less than what they are now willing to agree on, then it will be, I mean, what for did the Nagas suffer so much? For 2, 3, 4 decades, there was, I mean, widespread military operations. Large number of Nagas died in that. So that will be a betrayal of Naga national cause, according to them. So they have their own standpoint. On just the last point about separate constitution and flag, I mentioned Russian Federation. It is a federation. Many people would say that it's a very centralized federation in the classification of coming together federations and holding together federation, which is India. There is a third category by Stephen and others, which calls it a putting together. So a coercive type of federation where the federal government, the central government has overriding, overwhelming powers. But even in Russia, you will be surprised perhaps. In US, all the states have their own constitutions. There is dual citizenship. So it's truly a shared sovereignty in many ways. Even in Russia, it's a federation where there are various type of constituent units. There are republics, there are regions, there are others. The republics have their own constitution, have their own flag, in US also, and the head of the republic is called president. So we should understand that what Nagas are demanding is not something which is unheard of. I can take questions. I'm really sorry. I know I have taken more time than was given to me. Thank you very much for your patience.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a fascinating topic, and I think we need a full seminar on asymmetric federalism. Truly, if we really need to address the issues of the Northeast. So, and sorry to cut you short because of the time constraints, but I'm sure we'll have more times to interact with you and other scholars on this. Without further ado, may I now invite Dr. Ottojit Kshetriam to please make your presentation. I'll give you a beep.
Yeah, sure. 2 minutes before that. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I think everyone is awake, mostly the students out there. So I will try to connect with the students because my presentation will be more relevant for the the youth. So first of all, I would like to thank Professor Jain for his kind invitation to be part of this one-day seminar. And most significantly, I have my first Vice Chancellor, whom I had worked for the first time. I mean, my career started with that, with Professor Lama, who has trained us how to build an institution. So I was very fortunate to be working under him way back in 2008 to 10, establishing the one of the very significant central universities in the Northeast India, that is Sikkim Central University, based in Gangtok. So now they have shifted their campus in Yangyang in South Sikkim. This particular seminar is very significant, but I will be taking a little bit away from the general presentations that we have been hearing. But most significantly, I would like to refer to what Professor Lama had mentioned in his presentation that is very fascinating and very enriching. So he mentioned, I just take 2 points from him so that I can relate to my presentation. So he talked about a very interesting perspective on Northeast as the corridor for India's new development model. And the second word is the rocket model, the rocket mode of development. So whether we want to go it at the snail mode of development or whether we want to go for the rocket mode of development. So definitely we have to decide on that. But how do we proceed, or how do we take this approach? So it is very important for us to connect with a very important issue on employment. That's my youth migration and youth unemployment issues in the Northeast. So my presentation is basically based on that. So what is fascinating is that why youth entrepreneurship matters in Northeast India. The second point is the question of migration, that the issue of migration that is happening from Northeast, that is the out migration that is happening from Northeast India. We all know that we have a huge Northeast population in Delhi NCR, although the number has been little bit of only estimation because there has not been proper study on the number of Northeast migrants in Delhi NCR. But rough estimates, I have tried to calculate the rough estimates that we can collect from some of the sources that we have. And significantly, the significance of employability skills, why the youth of Northeast India really need to have employability skills, and definitely the role of institutions and educational institutions like Syed Bhagat Singh College, what role they can play in terms of providing this platform. So these are some of the points that I would like to highlight within this 10-15 minutes. So yeah, the first point. So we have a reality check out here. So we have these numbers. So what do you think? Yes, my friend, my young friends at the back, can you relate? So what do you observe from this particular data? What will be your interpretation? Yes, anyone? Okay, you talk about migration, right? Okay, any other? Yes, anyone? Sorry? Employment rate, okay. Yes, any other? So the data speaks about the year 2014 to 2022. It talks about 22 crore, 7.2 lakh, and 0.32%. So this particular data speaks about the number of applicants that the public sector organized enterprises have received from 2014 to 2022. That is, in the public sector employment vacancy announcement, 22 crore total cumulative during these years. They have received 22 crore applications. Out of these applications, 22 crore applications, 7.2 lakh got the placement. That means they were successful in getting the employment, the job. So that means if you calculate the percentage, 0.32% were successful in getting the jobs. So what I'm trying to highlight from this particular data is that we should not be after the government jobs, because there are very, very limited government jobs. We all know that we have the mindset in the Northeast, okay, so that means we always try for the government jobs, whether it's a grade 4, whether it's a higher jobs, all right, so we always speak about the government jobs, right? So the reality check is that there are not much, only 0.32% of the applicants were successful to get the government job. So the idea is we have to find other avenues, because the data speaks that, okay, that means we have to find other employment opportunities, other employment avenues. And what is that? We have to go for entrepreneurship. We have to go for startup. We have to go for other forms of employment generation. Next slide, please. All right, so we have to refer to this National Youth Policy, which speaks about various important key elements. And when you talk about youth, we have to define by the youth. So we have to define by the age group. So 15 to 29 is what is defined as youth under the National Youth Policy. And this particular policy came in the year 2014, but now it has been redrafted, revised. The draft is available in the public domain 2024. So the government is planning to come up with a revised version of the National Youth Policy, which emphasizes on very important 5 points. And for us, these 5 points are very, very important as a youth of this country. So we have to refer to the education, which align with NEP 2020, then employment and entrepreneurship, leadership and volunteering, health and fitness, social justice and safety. So as a youth, as a part of this college or the University of Delhi, so we have to see the components, the key elements that we have in the National Youth Policy 2024, the draft policy. So we have to see that we are a very significant part of this country, and we have to have this emphasis, the 5 key elements that we have. So coming to the idea of the employability skills or the educated youth unemployment in the country. Yeah, please go back. Yeah, come. There's some. Yeah, next slide, please. All right. Yes. So we have to understand when you talk about youth unemployment. So there's the kind of very challenging issues that we have in the Northeast or otherwise in the other parts of the country also. We have this educated youth unemployment. So that means you have cleared BA, PG, PhD, MPhil, MBBS, engineering, but the problem is that many of us are unemployed. So that's the big challenge that we have in the Northeast also, because we have a lot of friends, a lot of young friends who have completed their studies, but still they are not able to find a proper suitable job. So that's the kind of challenge that we have in the country. So at least that means they have acquired at least +2 or 10 plus till PhD or any other technical education, but still they are not able to find a suitable job. So that's the kind of challenge that we have in the Northeast. Yes, next please. Then what is significant for the youngsters to understand is we have this concept of job market and labor market. So job market is something that once you clear your graduation or when you pass out from the college, you are in the now labor market, right? So that means you have to find a job, which is very much relevant to your area of work, area of study. So you are going to find or relate your knowledge or skill that you attained from the college or the training institutions with the job market. But when you talk about long term, you have to understand the labor market, okay, after maybe around 10 years or 20 years, what you want to do. So that comes your future prospect. So it's not about something very short term, but when you talk about labor market, it's basically referring to a long term, like, you know, your, what you call these opportunities or your idea of like your prospect of like, you know, working somewhere or you become an entrepreneur. So we have to differentiate between this job market and labor market. I'm not going to detail into that, just to give you an idea. Next, please. Yeah, please go ahead. Yes, very significantly, we have this report. It's available in the public domain, India Skills Report 2025, which comes up with a very good survey, very well surveyed report, trying to focus on the employability of the graduates in the country. So if you see this data, you can say that the MBA or management graduates have the employability rate of 78%, roundabout, roughly. But apart from that, when you talk about BA Arts, it's only about 54%. That means out of every 100 graduates who graduated from Delhi University, they have the employability skills of chances of 54%. So that's a big question mark in the sense of whether you will be fit in the job market or in the labor market or not. So we have to be very, very carefully understanding that, okay, what kind of courses we are doing, what kind of skills that we have acquired from the training institutions or the colleges are we really good enough to get an opportunity to work in the job market? So that's the kind of a challenge that we have before us, because the data speaks about this particular challenges, the employability rate of these graduates. Next, please. Yes, and this is also one of the findings that only hardly around 42% of the graduates in India are employable. So this is based on the Metal India's Graduate Skill Index 20, the latest report that they have come up. So there are fascinating information data. If you go through this particular report, you will get to know about the various aspects of employability right throughout the country. And it says that Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, and Uttarakhand top the charts in graduate employability. So for that matter, we are all part of Delhi. So definitely our employability chances are higher as per the report. Next, please. Then I'm not going detail into this. This is just to give an idea that agriculture still plays a very significant role in our economy, in the Northeast economy. And definitely manufacturing, if you compare with India data, we have low manufacturing, what we call percentage in terms of that we do not have much industries or factories in the Northeast. And that's the kind of challenge that we have. That means that's why people move out from the Northeast, because of this lack of opportunities. Yes, next, please. Yeah, and interestingly, if you talk about the self-employed, regular wage salary and casual labor, we could see that that means we have a higher percentage as compared with India. That means we have around 65% of the workers or the workforce that we have in the country, in the Northeast, all right, who are self-employed. And interesting, they are not Tata Ambanis or Adanis. They are simple, at a very sustainable level, they are working. That means they become a kind of a vendor, fruit vendor, or a tea vendor, or whatever, small businesses they do. But what is happening is that they are employed in the sense that they have a small business, but they are not very much they do not have much capital to invest, and also they are small time, farmers or small enterprises. Next, please. Yeah, the other one. Let's come back. Yeah. No, the other one. Yes. So if you talk about the gross enrollment ratio in higher education, this is also very significant in the sense that If we talk about the national GAR in higher education, it is 28.4%. But we have states in the Northeast, that is the four states. Sikkim has got the highest gross enrollment ratio in higher education with 38.6, followed by Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Mizoram. So that means in terms of enrollment in higher education, so we have these four states which have higher proportion or higher percentage than the national average. So that means higher education becomes a very significant indicator, right, in terms of the Northeast. That's why it is very important for us to understand what are the options available for the youth who are educated in terms of finding a job in the job market, in the labor market. Yes, next please. Then if you talk about very interesting trends that I have come up, so if we talk about the case of Manipur, we have 3.27 lakh individuals who are live registered in the employment exchange of Manipur. And interesting fact is that the total number of employees, government employees working currently under the government of Manipur is roughly around 80,000. So if one fine day, if tomorrow the government of Manipur decided, okay, this 80,000 will be given voluntary retirement from tomorrow, and it will be replaced by another 80,000 rupees from the employment exchange who are live registered, still we have more than 2 lakh people or youth who are registered in the employment exchange, but they won't be able to get into the government sector or government job because we have the supply, the demand is less, we have the higher supply. So there is a mismatch between demand and supply of labor. So this is the big challenge that we have in the Northeast, that there is a mismatch. There's a big wide gap between demand and supply of labor. That's why it leads to out migration. That means youth come out from the Northeast to other metros, including the Delhi NCR. Yes, next please. And if you talk about youth unemployment rate, this is sort of very fascinating in the sense that we have these states of Tripura, Nagaland, Manipur, and Arunachal Pradesh, which has has higher youth unemployment rate against the national average. So we have Tripura, Nagaland, Manipur, and Arunachal Pradesh, whose youth unemployment rate is higher than the national average of 14.9%. So this is something we need to reflect upon. Yes, next please. So, but the idea is youth unemployment is a pan-India problem. Pan-India issue is not only the problem of the Northeast, but the problem is that it seems to be higher in the Northeast. And if you talk about the Northeast migrant, that's why the factors that led, that is the push factors or the pull factors, if you talk about migration, that is interesting to note that around 4.5 lakh people are migrating from the Northeast to the to Delhi. Out of this youth population is about 3 lakh. And these are some of the references. These are some of the sources that I have gone through. So based on this, there is a kind of a rough estimate of about 4.5 lakh Northeast migrants in Delhi. Out of these 3 lakh are youth population. Next, please. Yeah, sure. So the other important points that we need to understand is that what are the strengths and weaknesses of our graduates from Northeast India? So if you talk about the strengths, we have a lot of strengths among the youth of the Northeast. We have high literacy, English is good. We have cultural adaptability. We have entrepreneurship in local sector supported by skill initiatives, then participation in the skill development missions, PMKVY, other apprenticeships. But apart from that, we also have weaknesses covering outdated curriculum, poor digital literacy, minimal industry exposure, geographic isolation, heavy reliance on government jobs. That's the point that I have highlighted before, that we are too much after the government job, we do not think about other avenues. But now the situation is changing. The youngsters have come up with a lot of startups, with new avenues of employment generation. So this is something that we could see, the transformation or the transition that we could see among the youth in the Northeast. So I have visited Humayunpur, is in Safdarjung Enclave. That's a fascinating place to explore. I'm planning to come up with a small report now. I'm doing it. I'm doing a field study. So when I visited this Humayunpur, it's a hub now. It's a business hub. If you walk down the street of Humayunpur in Safdarjung Enclave, you will see more than 70% of the people who are walking down the streets are from Northeast, belonging to different states of the Northeast. And if you see the signage, the boards, the hoardings out there, you will see Tangkhul Naga soap. All right, then Manipuri Itfam is there. Then Hentak is one of the Manipuri cuisine restaurant which is opened very recently. Then there are a lot of eateries from Northeast belonging to different types of the Northeast. So these are some of this stores or the restaurants or the eateries that we have. There are not many, but these are some of the few I have selected. So offering all those local cuisines, then you have all the like handicrafts, handlooms. These are all available in this particular what we call locality called Humayunpur in South Delhi, that is in Safdarjung Enclave. Next, please. Okay, so I have few three case studies in terms of this. Can you identify this one, this lady? Anyone? Any idea? Yes. Miravet Chanu. This is not Miravet Chanu, right? She is from Nagaland and she is a graduate from Lady Shri Ram College. All right. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. Yeah, she is, no, other one. Yeah, come down, next slide. Yeah, Hakani Jakalu Kansi from Nagaland. She is currently the MLA, Member of Legislative Assembly from Nagaland, and she did her BA Political Science from Lady Shri Ram College and LLB from Faculty of Law, Delhi University. And she is the co-founder of YouthNet based in Nagaland, and her key initiatives is Made in Nagaland Retail Center and online platform, and she was awarded Nari Shakti Puruskar way back in 2018, and she is one of the first women MLA from Nagaland. There were two MLAs, women MLAs, who were appointed, who were who won the election. Two women MLAs. So one of them is Miss Hakani Jakalu Kanse, who is a alumni of Lady Shri Ram College Department of Political Science. Next, please. She is, I'm not making you guesses. She's Angelika Maibam from Manipur, and she is the first DU student who became a part of the executive member of the DUSU way back in 2011-12. And currently, she has come up with a new, organization called Femme First Foundation, which empowered women in political empowerment, in the sense that trying to give information, trying to empower them politically. So she's very much active, and she is a graduate from Sri Venkateshwar College from BA Honors in Biochemistry, and she is considered to be one of the first India 30 under 30. Right, next please, last slide. And he is from Assam, and he is currently very famous and very prominent because now he was part of the Shark India, in one of the series of Shark Tank, and he won some of the investment from one of the sharks. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, he is Upamanu Borkati from Assam, from Shipsagar, and he is the co-founder of a tea company based in Assam, and he has come up with an idea that the tea bag without the this paper cover. So he has come up with a very innovative idea of, next please, next, yeah, the tea leaf, no, what is happening? Yeah, no. Fine, yes. Right, so he is a graduate from Zakir Hussain College. I am also a product of Zakir Hussain College. So he did his BCom from Zakir Hussain College, Delhi University, passed out from 2012. And he started this particular startup called True Deeps, and now he has also ventured into Wula Tea, which has 150 lakh investment from Shark Tank India, Aman Gupta, and he has been recently awarded with Assam Gaurav Award. And interestingly, what is happening is his innovation is to tea, tea bag without the bag. All right, so very organic, and his initiative has been very much appreciated. Lastly, last slide with the chairperson's permission. The last slide, please. Last slide, please. Yes. So the idea is we have seen that there are a lot of challenges. We have discussed about a lot of challenges, political challenges, development challenges. But the idea is we have to be very hopeful. We have to be very positive in the sense that, okay, as Professor Lama was mentioning, that Northeast is the future of India. So for this, we have to have institutional backup, as Professor Lama was rightly mentioning, that we have to support the youth of the Northeast India in terms of their capacity building. So educational institutions, and institutions like Delhi University, Syed Bhagat College have a very important role to play in terms of providing this capacity. And this kind of seminars, workshops are very, very important. And through this, they can develop their capacity and become a very good, promising entrepreneurs in days to come. And definitely, they are going to help the nation to grow leaps and bounds. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Professor Otujita. Again, fascinating presentation. Before I invite Dr. Narzari, I just want to put a small seed of thought in people here. That, you know, one thing is very clear from Dr. Otujit's presentation, and we see that often, that the youth of Northeast have a large amount of entrepreneurial energy and ability. Whoever has succeeded, whether it is you know, Jasmina or whoever it is, I know many of them, they're my friends also, some of them, they have done it based on collaborations. Now, you know, collaborations, if you want a business to go to Northeast, then, you know, the environment has to be such. So I would then go back to things like the Article 371, 6th schedule. You know, if a business wants to go in, how do they get a foothold? How do you collaborate? So I just want to highlight that these two are linked. On one side, we are talking about, you know, the entrepreneurial energy. There's no doubt that there is a lot of focus, and the youth have extreme amount of will and power to do this. At the same time, the politics is different. So there is a need for reconciliation of these two worlds if the region has to prosper. And I think there's nowhere better than this, than the colleges and campuses of universities and you know, to ponder on this subject. And you know, think tanks like us, we are always there to sort of, you know, also highlight it in different. So I would just like to place this for your thought, and maybe some questions and some discussion can happen after the session. Now I invite Dr. Nazari to make your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Mr. Datta, for giving this past background so that I can begin my talk. But I'm going to take everyone on a very different kind of a journey, you know, away from numbers. So my talk is on spiritualism, culture, and the notion of nationhood among the Bodos of Assam. And having come from the background of history, obviously I'm going to talk a little bit about the history. And even as we talk about this whole thing about spiritualism, culture, somewhere, as earlier Mr. Datta said, these are all connected with some of the aspects of whether it's to do with asymmetrical federalism, you know, constitutional rights, and various other things. Where earlier during the keynote session, we also heard about things like autonomous council, particularly. Yes. Not audible. Now is it audible? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just to give a very brief introduction to my presentation here today, what I'm going to talk about, It's about also a history of a community, and it's about their worldview, culture, and how all of these things play a very important role in shaping their understanding of that nationhood that we talk about. And so the whole thing is about how do we trace the history of people without history. So this is this seemed like a question which may not have direct answer, but it's more complex also. So I would say that much of our misunderstanding or understanding of the peoples or of communities who did not have a tradition of documenting their past is derived from external sources, which is to say, in our case, the colonial sources. So I generally avoid to use the term, say, tribe. It's a very conscious effort that I try to make when I'm talking about communities from the Northeast, because it's a term which is given by the colonialists, and somewhere it's also very connotative and also limiting. So I try to always use the term community or peoples, because there is no, I think, equivalent word for the term tribe in vernacular also. The terms that we use in vernacular could be Adivasi, Jati, Janjati, Banvasi. There are so many words that we use in a very contextual kind of a sense. So unfortunately, we have internalized the term tribe, and which has been going on. So in the context of the Bodo people in Assam, which is what I'm going to focus on, tracing their history and historical trajectory actually require a very decolonizing kind of an approach also, and call for critical analysis also of the existing sources, which is mostly colonial. The historical intersectionality of the Bodo people as a cultural group is useful as an example for analyzing the multi-layered power dynamics and experiences in a very contemporary context. So it is interesting, therefore, to hypothesize that the historical journey of the Bodo people was directed by their spiritual worldview, represented by the traditional Bathau worship. So it's a very indigenous way of worshiping nature, which is the essence of Bodo culture, and which is also closely linked with the community notion of nationhood. So that the term, for instance, Borohari for Boro nation is an expression of community consciousness as a historical and political people, and as old as the Bathau worship itself. So this presentation, I try to trace the genesis of this socio-cultural awakening of the Bodo people that played a very important role in the movement for their rights, which we say tribal rights, in Assam after independence. And eventually, there was this whole thing called movement for a separate Bodoland in Assam. The idea is to highlight that historical and cultural consciousness is never apolitical and is generally influenced by the currents of existing socio-political dynamics, as has been visible in the case of the Bodo people, and also in many other states of Northeast. If we take examples, it's just one of the examples. So the larger question that I try to seek to address here is whether the idea of Bodo nationhood is getting eroded by the contemporary currents. So this brings us to this whole question about who are the Bodos. So can you just move to the slide, please? So when we talk about who are the Bodos, they are the largest plains tribes of Assam. This is coming from the colonial time itself, how the tribals or the people communities in the entire Northeast was divided into hills tribes and plains tribes. So mostly the Bodos or the clans that come under Bodo group settled in the plains, unlike like the Dimasas, for instance, who live in the hills. And there are other hill tribes in Assam also. So there is very distinct categorization of tribes in Assam, plains tribes, hills tribes. So the Bodos are the largest plains tribes and mostly concentrated in the western part of Assam, which nowadays has become known as Bodoland Territorial Council. After 1993, when after a very prolonged militant kind of a movement, this council was created through an agreement. And the Bodos call themselves, for them, the Bodos are like the Bada. So when we talk in a linguistic kind of a terminology, Bodo, there are so many different ways to define who are the Bodos. And they are spread across different parts of Northeast. And you also find groups of Bodo people, say in Bangladesh, in Nepal, and large number also in North Bengal. But everywhere they are known by different names. For instance, in North Bengal, they are called the Mes people, Mese. And Tripura also, you have the Bodo people who are known as, they are Tripuris, but they are also Kokboroks. So Kokboro actually is the language, the speaker of the Kokborok language, because we share the same linguistic, we come from the same linguistic group, sort of. The Bodo belongs to the Tibeto-Burmese linguistic group. So that's how the communities are identified as belonging to the same group. So next, yes. So when we talk of the origin of the Bodos, the Kachari tribe, it's called largely Bodo Kachari. So the Kachari tribe is like the Nagas, how there is this umbrella term for the Naga people. And then you have, within that umbrella term, you have so many different tribes. Within Nagaland, you have Ao, Lotha, Sumi, Angami, like that. So among the Kacharis also, Bodo is one of the groups, branch groups of the Kachari tribe. Then you have like Sonowals, you have like, Rabha, Lalung, Mising. These are all belonging to the same, this larger Kachari group of people. And these are some of the names, which is based on 1881 census, which are some of the earliest kind of records that we have about the people and branches and also spread of the people. And of course, in the memory of the Bodo people, before the coming of the Ahoms in Assam, for instance, they belonged to the ruling clan. So they ruled over much of Assam as far as Dimapur. Now, Dimapur was considered to be the capital of the Kacharis in the erstwhile period before the Ahoms. So as the Ahoms moved into Assam from South China through Myanmar, northern Burma, to Assam, they were pushed further out and out towards western and southern part. So, so there is this sense of belonging to that ruling clan as well among the Bodos. So why I'm talking about this is, where is this whole idea of sovereignty coming into the minds of the Bodo people that led them eventually to, get into this whole movement for demanding for separate statehood or a separation from India also along the Anasian line. So there had been different groups demanding for different kinds of political rights. Next, please. So this is a record, some of the colonial records from where we get to know more about the Boros and the Kacharis. And of course, we cannot take these sources as given because we have to critically engage with these sources, because as I studied some of these sources, I found that there are many mismatches. And but unfortunately, our own people, including other communities, they tend to refer to keep going back to these sources when we're talking about the history and the background of the people. So of course, these are some of the basic kind of informations. But on the other hand, when we look at these sources and also the notion of nationhood among the Bodos, much of the ideas of contestation and in the region or in the state comes from say toponyms or name of the places. So for instance, language is used extensively in trying to claim or reclaim the space there. Now whether in a geographical sense or in I mean, it can be like political, spatial, socially, in every sense, how people use language to reclaim that space for themselves. The first history book, for instance, written by Edward Gate, he talks about how much of the Assam's names actually came from the Bodo or Kachari names. And because Assam was really endowed with a lot of water bodies, and in Kachari language or Bodo language, the term "di" prefix is used to refer to water. So for instance, if we talk about Demasa, Demasa, or Dei means water, Masa is literally coming from, I have only 2 minutes. Little more time. Okay, okay. Okay, so I won't go too much into history aspect of it, but I would like to now move on to the spiritual aspect of it, which is also very much connected with the way history is represented in all of these things. Can we move to the next, please? Yeah. Okay, so for instance, Dimasa is the name of the tribe or community, in Dimasa Hills, in the northern North Kachar Hills area. So it literally means the for coming from water, Dimasa, the children of the river. It's like the Nipsa, children of the river, Dimasa. So that's how they would identify themselves. So this is where you get a sense that how the identity of the people in these places are so deeply connected with the land, for instance. So land becomes the source of identity from where they draw everything. It's not just about source of livelihood, but it's also source of their identity, memory, history, everything, culture. So so this is where the worship of Batho actually becomes very important. Batho is the considered the origin of the Bodo people, and Batho, there are, if we go to the next slide, please. Yes, so Batho worship, which is like the center of Bodo universe, and Ba has like meaning, there's this, there are 5 elements. Ba means 5, and Tho means like very deep engagement with the universe, sort of. So there are 5 elements, earth, air, water, fire, and sky. So which defines Batho philosophy. So in that sense, you need to worship every element which is there. And from where comes also, so there are different aspects in Batho worship. Just to give you an example is that, for example, my now is my now is term used to refer to, say, for example, rice. So it's almost like Lakshmi. My now means also Lakshmi, if we translate it. My now means my. My is Pedi. And therefore, Pedi is like a lifeline of the Bodo people. Now, Pedi is linked with land. So your lifeline is land. So you need to revere, say, my now or my land, and then only you can prosper in life. You know? So yes. So these are the kind of philosophy that you find in the worship of Batho, and through which then how people are imagining nationhood through these ideas and philosophies. So here I am just transcribing the word literally from what is written here. So you have seen what is written there. It is referring to Batho, the Batho god, Afa Obong Lauri, literally meaning that the Almighty, you know, who is a supreme god, supreme being, creator of the humans on earth, kind of. So who and what form are you in? So I am Batho, religion of the people. Batho, are you ancient or new? Or behold, we have been around since the creation. The Bodo people of the world. We began the world, kind of, right? So religion of the Bodos is Batho, the Batho. So you are literally linking your very being with this worship. So from anybody, and all Bodos must worship Batho. So if you are a Bodo, you have to worship Batho. So this is where this whole idea about, you know, collective is emerging from that sense. And next. So again, this remaining part, Batho is the soul of the Bodos, lifeline of the Bodos. Its creator, preserver, destroyer is the Batho. So if you sort of defy Batho, you know, it's the end of you. So it holds the deepest philosophy of religion, society, and polity, and also a philosophy of Lord Shiva. So now this is very interesting, you know, because you see the entry of Lord Shiva here, so which I find is very critical as well as interesting. It's a turning point in the history of both Batho as well as the people themselves. And Batho is the only religion of the Bodo people in the whole world, sort of. Now, what happens is like late 19th century, early 20th century, you know, there was a lot of fervor of national movement, which reached Assam, obviously the western part of Assam being very close to Bengal. You know, we are sharing border with Western Bengal there. So a lot of the cultural influence, intellectual currents, it's coming from Bengal to the western part of Assam, which is primarily populated by the Bodo people. So people are getting exposed to new ideas and the ideas around national movement also. And it is from that point of view, people start thinking about their own identity, you know. So in these atmosphere or environment of national freedom movement, what would be our future? So it is from that point of view, they start articulating their own position within the larger context of Assamese society. Now, when we say Assamese society, of course, this is again within the larger Hindu caste Assamese society we are talking here, not the community-centric, the tribal kind of society. So, and to talk about it, there was a lot of discrimination actually which happened, you know, how the pre-existing upper caste Hindu Assamese, and then during British time, large number of Bengali workers, you know, in the service class Bengalis, they came to Assam, and obviously belonging to, again, Hindu caste society, how there was this society was getting eroded and divided. So it was in that context, there was a lot of discrimination happening in the society, and how the Bodo people started actually feeling that discrimination, that, oh, these are the Bodo people who don't know how to live, they drink rice beer, they eat pigs, and then they rear pigs, they are the most primitive kind of. Yeah. So it is within that kind of a context that there is emergence of a nationalist kind of a feeling among the community people. And this is where, this will lead to assimilation of the community with the larger Hindu kind of a tradition, which was introduced by somebody called Gurudev Kalicharan, who was very much influenced by Brahma Dharma, and he went to Kolkata, got inspired, and Diksha Leke, he came back, and then he preached Brahma Dharma among the people, in discouraging people to stop living like primitive people. Now you need to practice Dharma, and that Dharma is like Brahma Dharma, and through yagya and offerings made to the fire god and all of those things. So this sense of awakening was generated among the people, which eventually will also become take very political kind of a color, and which was, I think, very crucial in the way the first regional political party of Assam was formed. And though this was post-independence in 1960s, but this was happening from 1920s onwards already, with the coming of Simon Commission to Assam, and then culminating in 1967, when the first regional political party called the Plains Tribal Council of Assam was born. And yeah, I'll just wind it up. Yeah. So okay. Sorry. Yeah. So this is how the progression of the Bodo people from being the most backward, considered to be the most backward community, to become forerunners in the identity politics of Assam, is something which is very closely linked, I feel, with the way Bodos engaged with spiritualism, and how they try to also use culture in that the process kind of. So with that, I know it's a big topic, which is difficult to put in a short kind of a session, but this is what I thought needs to be shared, because it's one of the least known aspect of Assam's history as well, and hopefully that more people will get encouraged to look at these kinds of aspects from the Northeast. Thank you.
Thank you. I have the very, difficult and unpleasant task of actually cutting short such wonderful presentations on three such so very important, dimensions. We had one on federalism, one on youth and unemployment, and employment, unemployment, and spirituality. And might I say that a lot of the chemistry of the Northeast is based on the religious and spiritual traditions of the people. It is intrinsically linked to the very way that the DNA of the region functions. So I do see that these three topics are actually linked. Though they may seem very far apart, but they are actually linked. And if we really need to look at solutions or look at the way ahead in the lights of what Professor Lama was telling us, then we really need to see the intersection of these points. We have very little time, but maybe we'll take a few questions. 10 minutes? 10 minutes, Professor? 5 minutes of questions? Okay. 5 minutes of question and answers. So I'll open the floor. Questions. Anybody wants to make any... anybody has anything to say? Yes. जी हाँ थोड़ा संक्षिप्त में बोलिए ताकि टाइम कम है, लेकिन आप अपना सवाल जरूर कीजिए, बताइए।
सर मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि वहाँ पे कोई भी वहाँ पे 7 स्टेट्स है, बट कोई भी मेट्रो अभी तक वहाँ पे नहीं है। ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का सबसे बड़ा इशू होता है। अगर किसी को कोई भी बिजनेस करना है या कोई भी हम अगर नॉर्थ ईस्ट में कुछ मैन्युफैक्चर हो रहा है, उसे हम ला करके यहाँ पे बेचना चाह रहे हो, यूपी में बेचना चाह रहे हैं, दिल्ली में सेल करना चाह रहे हैं, तो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का सबसे बड़ा इशू होता है।
हाँ।
तो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के लिए मेट्रो है, बाकी और भी चीजें हैं, ये सारी चीजें वहाँ पे नहीं है। और मैं ये भी कहना चाहूंगा कि वहां पे जो भी मेजर इश्यूज हम देखते हैं रिसेंट में होती है, उसे उस लेवल पे कवरेज नहीं मिलती है इंटरनेशनल मीडिया पे, नेशनल मीडिया पे, इंटरनेशनल मीडिया पे। सर नेशनल मीडिया पे उस हिसाब से कवरेज नहीं दी जाती, उसको वेटेज नहीं देता है, प्रायोरिटी नहीं दी जाती।
आपका कोई सवाल है?
सर यही सवाल है सर,
क्यों नहीं मिलती है?
सर क्यों नहीं मिलती है? और मेट्रो सर अभी सजेस्टेड है सर, 2011 का वहां पे
अच्छा।
प्रपोज किया गया, लेकिन अभी तक उसमें भी कुछ हुआ नहीं है।
अच्छा ठीक है लेते हैं। और anybody wanted somebody else? Yes.
Sir, is it possible to highlight impact of diminishing returns on economic activities in Northeast India? Law of diminishing returns and economic activities in Northeast India. This is my question.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Is it audible?
जी बताइए।
Hello, sir. So I am Ankit from History Honors, Seth Bhagat Singh College. So my first question is, sir, Nagaland had adopted asymmetrical federalism. Okay. Nagaland had adopted asymmetrical federalism, but still we are not able to solve the local issues of Nagaland. So what else we have to do to solve that problem? My second question is, when we compare the state of South India and the Northeast India, we see that in South India the political system changed, like the political party changed after 5 to 10 years, but in Nagaland one party ruled for more than 10 years. So is it the political will that is not helping for its growth? Like one party thought that he will win for a long period, so he not creating employment or developing institutions. My third question is regarding the gender gap.
I think let's keep two questions for now in the time of in the.
Sir, last question. Sir,
Okay.
related to gender gap, what is the gender gap in Northeast? Like
What is the
gender gap in Northeast?
gender gap? Okay.
How many women are migrating for educations and how many boys are?
Okay. One very last question, if anybody has, and then I will. There are four. Yes. Yeah, let him come first. But you have to promise me you'll only take 10 seconds to ask the question. Yes.
Very good afternoon, sir, and
Yes.
thank you for this enlightening speech. My question is that both the Bodo from ma'am that the spiritual community about the spiritualism of Bodo land, that Bodos are having a communal connection about their religion, and same as Hinduism as well. Admant means not this Hinduism, but the scriptures which we talk about in Hinduism. So how both the things are different from the common, and what are the common things between them?
Okay. Next.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I'm actually an eco student. My question to you is regarding private sector employment opportunities in the hills. I feel that not just the Northeast, even the hills in Uttarakhand are facing huge issues on this because of the mass exodus that they face. Considering the poor transport infrastructure and poor opportunities, how do you feel that governments, regional and central, can tackle this issue of employment and transport infra in the hills?
Okay. I think we stop here. I hope I'll ask each of the panelists to give 1 minute to sort of closing remarks, which sort of address this. But on your point about, I think we really need to look at how the hill economies and hill infrastructures are going to function. We cannot have Delhi model of infrastructure and development we superimposed on hill states, and that's exactly what's happening. Whether you look at the hill, Dehradun, or whether you look at Shillong or wherever else. So this is an area where I think people going back from here need to really raise this issue, that please do not replicate Vasant Kunj malls in the middle of Shillong or and connectivity is a challenge, but I think a lot is to be done. We can talk more about it over lunch. Very quickly, from Dr. Narzari, there was a question about what similarity. I'll just give you like maybe 40 seconds to sort of
Okay,
very
yes.
quickly make a point.
I would say that, with the introduction of Brahma Dharma among the Bodo people, and also this is the promotion of Brahma Dharma could happen because there was a growth of education among few sections of the society or individuals who got exposed to, say, modern education, who had, because everybody used to go to Bengal for higher education, modern education, so they were very much exposed to the Bengali culture and also the Hindu ways of life and living. So when they came back, they also tried to sort of impart their knowledge to the ordinary people through Brahma Dharma. So they became part of that camp of promoting Brahma Dharma, and largely later on, almost Batho worship and Brahma Dharma became almost assimilated, because in the Batho there is a symbol which is like a cacti, the tree.
Okay, I think for now, I think
so
it's
the whole idea of Shiva, worshipping Shiva and Batho, it became one actually. So there is no community, there is no what do you say, Hindus, non-Hindus kind of thing. So Bodos identify themselves now as Hindus.
Okay, so one quick point on the gender disparity. Yes, definitely, Professor Lama has also highlighted, and some of the panelists have also highlighted. Yes, when we talk about women's participation in economic, in economy, definitely yes, we have a very prominent participation of women in the economy, in the economic activity. But definitely, but that doesn't mean that there is no disparity. When we talk about female labor force participation, also we could see there are disparity within the Northeast also. So in the sense that yes, participation of women in economic activity as a whole, definitely we reference to the national average also. I mean, we could see that kind of disparity, gender disparity is still there, but definitely there are a lot of initiatives being taken up by the government. And when you talk about infrastructure, Professor Lama was also mentioning in the morning that we also need to emphasize on this, building this infrastructure. And definitely there has been a kind of an announcement that by 2027, all the northeastern capitals will be connected by train. So definitely we are looking forward to that, so that this connectivity issues are it will resolve. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, the Nagas did not adopt a symmetric federalism. The Indian state, the Indian constitution gave these special privileges or assurances in a way, because to allay Naga fears about threat to their identity and culture. So 371 is that A says that no law of Indian government, if it affects Naga customary law or Naga culture, will be applicable unless passed by Nagaland Assembly. So it was one way to assure the Nagas that their culture and identity is not threatened in India. In fact, in 1947, the Nagas were constantly saying that thrown among 400 million Indians, the Naga population was just 1 million, less than 1 billion. Where will Nagas stand? They will have no say in the elected assemblies. Their representation will be almost negligible. So in order to assure them, these provisions were made. About infrastructure, one last thing. I served in Arunachal. I remember in my days, if you have to go from one district to the other in Arunachal, you have to come through via Assam. Now, I visited last year and I could see that there are very good roads connecting various district headquarters within Arunachal. So there is improvement. The problem is lack of information in rest of India about the opportunities, about the facilities or infrastructure in Northeast.
Thank you very much.
Just one point about women and it took almost 60 years in Nagaland to elect a women MLA. So although these communities, it is generally believed that the women have a higher status or whatever, but in reality, it is much more complex and nuanced than that.
That's a very good point. I'm glad you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was too much of resistance to women's reservation also in Nagaland. That's also true.
So as you can see that this is a very, very live wire topic, a lot of interest from both sides. But I think it needs much more of churning. Thanks to Bhagat Singh College for putting this wonderful panel together and for having me to come and moderate this. I just want to end with there was no Pakistan, ma'am, at that time, 18th century. So just there was no Pakistan, and the Jaintia kingdom actually went all the way till what is we now call Bangladesh. So I just want to place that on record. And thank you again. And I think we'll look forward to the next session where we can further delve deeper into these topics. Thank you very much.
Warm thanks to all the panelists of the first technical session, which looked at socio-cultural and political dimensions. Thank you, Shri Sabyasachi Datta, Professor Sanjay Pandey, Dr. Otojit Khetri ma'am, and Dr. Dharitri Narzari. Such diverse interactions and discourses in the first technical session by our eminent speakers have given us much food for thought. And on that note, we proceed to have our food, and we'll come back in 30 minutes for the next technical session. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. जी आप ये मुझे